Does anybody have any questions about the stories, about the writing process, about what inspired them, anything like that?
I actually have a question for both of you, whoever wants to ask first. From the time you hear a story, like for you, it was based on something that actually happened. For you, it happened in your heart, like in your heart and your mind. How long did it take you to go, oh my gosh, this has to be a story, to, I guess I'm going to have to tell this story?
So for me, I originally thought that someone else was going to tell the story. I thought she was going to tell it herself. But nothing happened. And for me, it wouldn't go away. There was no way that this story was going to get out of my own head until I wrote it down. And that process was probably about 5 years. So it sat with me that long. I went through probably 3 or 4 different career changes and then had a baby, and then, you know, all of these other things sort of happened, and it was always in the background, kind of. This story in particular affected me in a way that I hope that it affects everyone else. You can't stop thinking about it after you read it, and you feel compelled to do something. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah. It's interesting.
And for me, it was, I guess I can do the dates better than I can do the time period. I had the idea, I remember 2:15, and I read the very first couple of pages to my friends. I remember it like it was yesterday. We were on a girls' trip and we were all huddled in a bed, and I read them the first page when Adoma goes up to the yacht. And they were like, oh wait, we want to know more. And so then I knew I had something that people actually wanted to hear about. And then as I started thinking about it more and more, it was just like something I had to do. It felt like if I didn't tell this story, that, I don't know, it was just such a strong feeling. You feel like you won't be complete, or you won't live without getting it out. So I decided to devote my time to learn the craft of writing, and it took about 6 months to write the novel. But then, since I wrote it stream of consciousness and probably tipsy most of the time because I was drinking wine all the time. When I had so seriously, right? When I had a finished product, I was like, what is this? It was just a mess, honestly. So the editing process took about another 3 months. And so in about 9 months, I had a book that was just about ready to be out to the world.
My question is for both of you as well. And I know that it's your first novel. Is it your first novel?
Yes.
Okay. What was it like sending your manuscript or your book out to these publishers and then waiting? And what was that process like? And did it happen sooner than you expected, or what? Did you come across some rejection you had to deal with? How was that first?
For me, the submission process is, it's almost like you send it out and you ignore it because you hear so many horror stories, and you just kind of wait for the rejections to come in because you expect them. And I sort of, I come from an advertising background, so I'm all about spreadsheets, and I'm putting all of this stuff into spreadsheets and tracking everything and putting it in the file to check it, making these things to just kind of check back. In the meantime, the real Sunday Minor is like, I really want this to be out there. And how do you explain to the real Sunday Minor, the person that this has happened to, that the story that we've written that she loves so much and really wants to get out there, that we just have to wait until somebody likes it enough.
Right.
So what we decided to do for this one, because of that situation, is we ended up going with a hybrid publisher where there's a lot of hand-holding, and I learn a lot about the publishing industry, but they handle all the stuff, and they give me advice on how to handle everything. And so that's what we did. We did do the waiting game for a while, but I'm really happy that that I was kind of pushed into doing this direction, because that was a huge question, I think, for every author. Should I wait it out? Should I self-publish? What are the options out there? Because there are these sort of stories out there from everyone about the pros and cons of everything. And so for me, we went with a hybrid publisher, and it's been a really fun experience. I'm learning a lot. So
I explored different routes. I sent it out to probably, I think, 20 to 30 publishers at first, and I didn't get a good response. So I had already on the back burner, like a boutique small publishing company, and I decided to go with them. That was when my penning was different. And I did a lot of the work anyway. It's almost like they were just publisher and me. And I didn't see much of a benefit. So when I decided to change my pen name, and Amazon basically said this is a new product and it needs it's going to be, has to be republished, I just went ahead and did it through Amazon, so self-publishing. So with this version, it's self-published, and I'll try again on my second novel to see if it'll get picked up by traditional publishers. But if you've got the story and you want people to hear it, it's just, if you get lucky, it's great to wait, but
there's so many tools out there now. Right?
Yeah.
So it's really inspiring.
Yeah, you can do it. It's just that you also have to realize that marketing is super important, and that's what I didn't know, because I don't have business background in books, and I just wanted to write a book. I just wanted to be creative, but marketing is almost as important as writing the book, or more.
Yes,
so yeah,
second job.
Yeah.
Really amazing, and like an awful view of the sitting here, like such different backgrounds, but both women able to publish on your own and able to read your own books here. And this, maybe you can comment, like, do you feel how accomplished, do you feel accomplished by that? Or what do you think your next steps are going to be? Like, are you going to write another book? Or I guess it turned into a question.
Well, I can say, yeah, it's one of those things where there is a sense of accomplishment, for sure, but it's also like a new normal, to where then you don't think of it as big as maybe other people think of it. And then also it's like in your mind, like your book is the best thing in the world, And so when it goes out in the world, and like not the whole world is stopping because your book is out, it's kind of like, oh wait, it makes you rethink whether or not it's the right thing. So it's a mixture of emotions. But yes, I'm so happy that I did it. I don't regret writing the book and getting the story out. And for me, it's just it's just in my blood now to write and get stories out.
For me, it's I am a little bit of a nerd. Of like every step along the way, I'm like, we did this, and this part's done. It's been amazing. What next? And then you so that happened with the manuscript. Well, actually, each draft of the manuscript was like this huge accomplishment in my mind. The beta reader situation, the actual, cover design, that was another cool thing. And I tried to involve the real Sunday Miner. So, for instance, for this cover, she didn't know. So in August of last year, she was kind of like, where are we on this? Is it ever going to happen? That kind of thing. And I said, yeah, I'm getting kind of back into it. My son had just turned 1, and I'm like getting my brain back and that kind of thing. Well, what she didn't know is that I went ahead and went forward with one of the publishers that I had been speaking with and that kind of thing. I went forward and we did about half a dozen of cover designs, and I presented those to her for her birthday. And so that was kind of like, I try to do that with every step because you never have another first. And so I try to enjoy every single one. I was so nervous about doing this. This is my first reading. And again, afterwards, I'm like, okay, I did that. What's next?
I'm full of questions, so
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, you're done. But
Thanks, guys.
my other question was just about the process of writing and what your life was like at the time when you were writing. I mean, did you have a full-time job? Did you set aside certain hours of the day? This is my writing time. And then also, I mean, it sounds like there's some very heavy and emotional things in both of your novels. And what was that like, experiencing that through the writing? These two-part questions.
Okay, the first part. Well, it was a perfect storm for me. I had the idea for the novel. I had a terrible loss, like terrible, at my last post, and then my mother had gotten sick. So I decided to come back to the U.S., and coming back to the U.S. meant leaving my old profession. So I decided to take some time off and devote to writing the novel. And fortunately, my mom's better, so that's good news. But it was a full-time job to get it out. And the second question was...
Oh, about experiencing some of the painful things you're writing about as you're writing it. Like, what was that like?
Well, I don't know. It's like with the divorce scene, it's like I haven't... It's just something, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like it's, oh gosh, it must be painful, but I've never experienced it. So it's like just takes a lot out of me to write it and to read it. But I don't feel the pain of the character. With the what happened to Maya and what prevented her from having children, I feel some of that pain because that actually did happen to a friend of mine. And with something else that goes on later in the novel, I felt I related to that too because it affects a lot of people where I'm from. But it's all kind of wrapped up in still a girl's fun book. So it was more about their friendship and their connection and just keeping their promise to reunite more than the specific pain of some of the characters.
So for me, I just so happened to, my husband had started a juice company, and I was at a place in my career where I wanted to kind of slow it down. And so I talked to him and his partner about it, and they brought me on for marketing, but it was ultra super part-time. Like I might have worked 5 or 10 hours a week on that stuff. And so it really was kind of the full-time job. I was like, this is it. The story is still here. It's not going anywhere. I need to write it. And so I would spend probably up until it got too hot outside or too cold or whatever it was. I had this patio set up out in the backyard. And that's where I did everything. Even my interviews, so Sunday and she would come to me once a month, and she would stay with me for a weekend. But otherwise, we had a 4 to 6 hour conference call on Saturday mornings. And then the rest of the days, I started sometimes even at 4 o'clock in the morning if I was compelled about a particular piece of the story, and I would get set up, bring my little heater if it was cold, get my ice water if it was too hot, and go sit out on the patio until I didn't want to be out there anymore. As far as the emotional stuff, it's really important for me that when readers are taking in my stories in general, I'm going to say stories because I intend to keep this as a general rule of thumb for me. I want you to feel exactly what I'm talking about. And so I take great care in putting myself in that person's shoes in that moment. And so it is really emotional, whether it's a high or a low, it is really difficult. And if it's not, or if I'm not laughing, or if I'm not crying about the situation, then I don't feel like it's ready for you. I don't want you to read it yet. I don't want it to be out there. So that's kind of the perspective I take. And specifically for this, I felt a huge responsibility to the real Sunday Miner. This is a serious story, and how for so many years did no one really listen or hear her or do something about what happened to her. And I thought, well, I need to really do something about this, and I really need to be able to touch readers with it. And if it's nothing more than we never forget Sunday Miner, then I feel like I've done my job. Continues to read it. So she probably read, like anytime something big happens and we share it, I think she goes back and reads it again. The last one was when we actually printed, so I guess it's been a couple of months. And now she'll report that she's made it through this much without crying. So, yeah. So there are still 2 places in the book that make her emotional. But the first time, she was like, I can't believe that it's here. And it was really kind of surreal for her to see her life in pages, which I would feel the same way, I'm sure.
So, I mean, growing up, you know, in your adolescence and thinking about, what I want to be when I grow up, did either of y'all ever imagine yourself to be a writer, or is it something that just became a surprise to you as you came into adulthood and you stumbled on these opportunities?
Actually, I get emotional thinking about this. I remember I told my mom one day when I was home that, Mom, I think I want to do something different. I want to be a writer. She goes, you used to always want to do that when you were little. And so it's something that I had completely forgot about or suppressed. I think just, you don't think of it as like a real career. And then I ended up, doing HR, and then HR in DC, then HR for the government, and just all of it just covered up, that inner creative being inside of me. So, I didn't know that that's what I wanted to do. Like, the little girl in me has always wanted to be a writer.
So I really loved poetry whenever I was younger, and I had this when I was super young. I thought it wasn't a poem if it didn't rhyme, and so I kept all of my poetry over the years. And you're a teenager, and all those crazy love poems and all that stuff that you kind of keep and look back at and you're like, oh God, that's terrible. So it was just always kind of this personal passion that I liked doing on the side. I kept, your random journal where you mean, okay, I'm gonna write this journal, it's gonna be amazing. But then you only end up complaining in the journal, And so nothing ever really took, and it wasn't until this story stuck with me, so that I really knew that this could be an option. It could be something that I could really be good at, I think. So